Hey guys, I'm Sovereign Jane Jenkins. I am the author of P Policy. It is a story about setting boundaries and maintaining self-respect. It's a self-help book to elevate the consciousness of young women in society. Check it out on Amazon, Kindle, and other online platforms. So, today I want to talk about getting rid of bitterness. As human beings, we're all predisposed to some resentment and some bitterness after something happens or somebody's trespasses against us. So, the best thing we can do as human beings and as individuals is acknowledge the fact that something has happened and somebody has crossed us, and how we're going to go about it and handle it and deal with those people who have trespassed against us. Now, the best method for me personally, is by first off acknowledging that the situation happened and approaching that person and seeing what the situation is and how it can be resolved. And if you don't do that, sometimes that bitterness will sit in the pit of your stomach, and it will sit in the intermediate spot in your soul until you deal with it, until you handle it. Now, there are some instances where you can't really control the bitterness because you don't have control over the situation. You cannot control other people. And therefore, you have to acknowledge that you have limitations and you can't really go in depth into that feeling and into the pit of your stomach to address the bitterness that's left after the transgression has occurred. So, first off, you have to put it in your mind, how can I achieve peace in this situation? Like, how can I go about having peace for myself and getting rid of the bitterness? So, step one is acknowledgement. Acknowledge that the situation happened and that it's there. Step two is looking and analyzing the entire picture in the puzzle and who's all involved, and being able to have adult conversations with who's involved, and being able to see how you want to navigate gaining peace and a peace treaty with these people who were involved. Because at the end of the day, if you see them on a daily basis, if you work with them, if you have a relationship with them, if they're family members, you can't just X them out of your lives. You have to deal with them. And that bitterness will sit there until you deal with it. So, step three would be actually having those interactions and having those conversations and being an adult about it. And you have to basically humble yourself. And if you're not able to do that, like if you're not able to sit down and have adult conversations and actually own up to where you went wrong in the situation, like you have to be able to have self ownership. If you can't do that, then that bitterness is still going to be there even after you leave the encounter with this person or whoever trespassed against you. So, another point about getting rid of bitterness is finding things in that environment that's going to alleviate tension. Sometimes that's getting a mediator, getting a manager, getting a objective family member that could give their take on the situation, and also being able to see where you went wrong is the main part of this. After that third party has given you their feedback. And you have to be aware and willing to work on yourself, because as human beings, we have to grow. You have to self-develop. You have to work on every aspect of your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit, and your emotions. That is an ongoing process. So sometimes we as human beings, no matter how good our intentions are, will result in our own self-analysis, and we have to know that when we are wrong and when we are right. And even if you are right and somebody still feels like they have a beef with you, it is your responsibility to address that with them. And if you're unable to reach a conclusion or a peaceful ground, it is okay to sit in silence and accept the fact that everybody is not going to like you. And that's perfectly fine. Put on earth to exist amongst other human beings, and of course there is going to be tension from time to time. And in times of tension, you have to know how to navigate yourself emotionally, and you have to know how to self-regulate and emotionally regulate. So, on those times where you feel like you're not getting past or getting through to those people, you do have to lean back and wait for them to step forward and take responsibility for their own actions. And then eventually, if you do get on a peaceful path and then you address the bitterness and you address the fact that you were done wrong and you see your part and they see their parts, and then that feeling in your stomach can be bombed over time, because time changes everything. Time heals all. That's if you tend to not ruminate on things that happened in the past. You have to find peace, you have to find understanding, you have to find healing for yourself. Some people are able to do that through religion, or they're able to do it through just reaching within themselves and finding their higher selves. They're able to do it through self-actualization, which is actually becoming the person that you were meant to be in this life and pushing past all the fears. Because I think fear is what hold us all back from becoming the ultimate version of ourselves. So that bitterness that you feel after you were hurt, that bitterness that you feel after you were cheated on, done wrong, drugged, hit, striked, any type of transgression against you is normal, it's natural. You're supposed to feel that. But eventually, you have to let go of that, because the longer that you hold on to it, the longer it's going to eat at your own internal soul linings. And your soul deserves so much more. It deserves a healthy environment. It deserves a healthy interaction. It deserves healthy people near you and around you, and that pour into you and that love you. And that bitterness is going to create a black hole in your soul, and it's going to slowly eat away at your internal posture and eat away at your psyche and make you feel like you're wrong. And it, in a way, it self manipulates you and brainwashes you into thinking that you're in the wrong when you're actually not. So it's always good to keep in mind who you are in every interaction, in every situation, and be aware that bitterness can result if the situation is not resolved properly, or if that person cannot, will not, or refuses to give you closure and they want you to sit with the bitterness. You have to take it to a place to where you have to give yourself permission to heal and close the door yourself. So you have to put all that responsibility, all that bitterness, and all that anger in your own cup in front of you. Address it after you're aware of it. Feel it, lean into it. Don't run away from that pain. Don't run away from the anger. Sometimes you just have to feel your way through it. And because you can't go under and over the valley, you have to go through it sometimes. And going through it is the worst part, but that's where the training ground happens. That's where you learn the most about yourself. That's when you grow the most. That's when you meet the most people that are going to help you along your journey. That's when you're going to find that self-love is going to sustain you throughout everything that you experience in this life. So bitterness can leave over time if you address it, acknowledge it, and do the best you can with dealing with it and leaning into it instead of running away from it. And after writing this book, I released a lot of the bitterness, the anger, the shame, everything that I was feeling at that time. And the key factor that I know that I was no longer bitter or angry is because I had peace. And that's a telltale sign that you reached that point of healing, is when you have peace, when you're hopeful, and when you're happy. As always, love always, Sovereign Jane Jenkins.